Chapter 59, The China Story. I got booked via a casting in Hong Kong for this big China hotel shoot, which consisted of shooting 2 different hotels in 2 different cities in China for a major Chinese hotel group. It would turn out to be my last modeling job in Hong Kong. A team of us, around 10 people altogether, would fly to Xi'an, shoot a hotel there, and then to Beijing, where we would shoot another hotel for that same Chinese hotel group. These shots would be used for brochures and print ads and the like. This was a big budget job. Just flying 10 people around from Hong Kong to Xi'an to Beijing and then back to Hong Kong cost a lot. Plus paying cast and crew, a hell of a lot of money was spent on this job. But these big ad agencies have the budget, so no big deal. On this particular job, I had decided to bring my photography equipment with me, which consisted of a camera, strobe lights, and 10 rolls of film. I figured I might get a chance in my spare time, like at night, to shoot a Chinese girl and attempt to sell it to Steve. I mean, it would be a long shot, but worth bringing my equipment just in case. So the bunch of us flew to Xi'an, and then the next morning we prepared for the hotel shoot like we always did, with the cast getting hair, makeup, and wardrobe done up, and the photographer and his assistant setting up lights and equipment and preparing the shoot on his end. The photographer was a guy named Neil Farron, an Aussie who had a reputation of being the best in the business at shooting hotels, and he used to book me regularly because I was the best in the business on my end. I had the clothes, the look, and by now modeling for a hotel shoot was second nature. Anyway, I was all fixed up, looking my executive self, and as Neil was still setting up, I had some time to kill and went to my room and grabbed my camera and walked into the lobby and shot pictures of the lobby, the front desk, and of Neil setting up his equipment and doing his thing. The whole shooting thing on my part was innocent enough, but it would later come back to haunt me, the production, and every single person and company involved. Well, we shot all day, and after 8 hours or so, we were done. To explain how easy my job as a model was on those type of productions, all I had to do was be an executive-type hotel guest, playing the typical business executive. So he would do a shot of me checking in, then a shot of me in the lobby reading a newspaper, then in the hotel restaurant having dinner with the female model, and finally a shot in the room of me in the room drinking coffee and reading an Asian Wall Street Journal. Well, I was used to this type of modeling job since I had done them so many times, so for me it was a piece of cake, which also made it easier for the photographer, Neil. God, did I love that work. I miss it. Anyway, after the shoot, we all went to dinner together in the hotel restaurant, and the hotel manager joined us. He happened to be from Germany or some such European country, as it was common practice to import hotel GMs from overseas back then. And if I remember correctly, his name was John, and he was a very down-to-earth and friendly guy who seemed to thoroughly enjoy our presence. After we ate, a few of us guys were just sitting around shooting the breeze, and he mentioned that there was a pretty cool place we could go to that night where there would be girls available for this and that. I mean, what guy is going to say no to that? So after dinner, a few of us went to this place, and it was a very strange place, to put it mildly. I have to remind you again that this is not the China of today we're talking about here. It's 1989 China, very closed, everything against the rules, and basically, if you were a foreigner, you had to sneak around to get laid, if at all. Well, that was my experience anyway. This place was off the charts weird in that you would pick up a girl who was sitting around in this very dark room and then close dance with her. I mean, is that weird or what? So I grabbed one and started slow dancing with her, and soon she invited me into the back room where we had sex on a table. I do remember one thing, and that is that she had body odor. Can you imagine remembering something so minor after all these years? But it made an impression on me. What can I say? A very pretty and sexy girl with body odor. Then I asked her if she would meet me at my hotel later, and she said yes. So our little group went back to the hotel, and later that night she shows up at the hotel to meet me. But you have to remember that in those days it was against the rules for a Chinese girl to go into the hotel room of a foreigner. So when she showed up at the hotel and we started to go to my room, the front desk stopped us and told me that it was against the rules for her to go to my room. So thinking fast, I told the lady at the front desk that John, the GM, had told me that it was okay, and I guess that was good enough for them because they allowed her to go to my room. In the room, she took off her clothes and we did a nude photo shoot. I mean, I brought my equipment for this very purpose, And even though it was 1,000,000 to 1 that I would actually shoot a naked girl on this trip to China, I never thought like that. I just figured things would work out, and that's probably exactly why they did. She was very sexy and did a good modeling job, and I think we did a pretty good photo shoot. After the shoot, we had sex, and then she left. Go figure. A perfect night, you might say, for a guy like me. And the fact that it all took place in a very mysterious China that seemed like another world made it twice as good. The next morning, while we were all having breakfast together, I whipped out of my pocket a Polaroid that I had taken of this naked, sexy Chinese girl and showed it to John, the hotel manager, and he laughed and thought it was just great. The reason that I had that Polaroid, by the way, in those days of shooting slides, it was necessary to take Polaroids to test the lighting. I remember one thing that happened on this trip, excuse me, that is sort of beside the point, but I'll bring it up anyway because it's etched in my mind. I had gone out in the street in CN and walked around the town and grabbed something to eat from a street-type vendor. When I got back to the hotel, I got as sick as a dog from food poisoning. I was so ill, and it was coming out of both ends, and I needed to just remain on the toilet sort of thing. And to add insult to injury, the weather had suddenly gotten very stormy, and we were being informed that we may not be able to fly to Beijing, but that we'd probably have to take a train. Well, I told them there's no way that I can take a train to Beijing. It would have been absolutely impossible as I was just too sick and needed that toilet under me. Sitting on a toilet, shitting, and simultaneously vomiting on a damn train? No way. Excuse me. But it never came to that because the weather improved and we were able to fly to Beijing after all. Whew. So later that day, the team flew to Beijing to shoot that second hotel. We did our production thing, same as we had done in CN, and we finished that shoot in a couple of days and then returned to Hong Kong. I think the entire trip lasted about 5 days total, and when we got back, we were all pretty exhausted and just glad to get back to civilization. It was a job well done, and we had some fun to boot, or I did anyway. The day after we returned, I got the film of the China girl processed, and then I called on my magazine customer, Steve, the guy for whom I had done that first shoot of mine in Manila, and I told him the story that I had gone to CN in Beijing to do a modeling job, and then when I was in CN, I had shot a local CN girl just for the hell of it, and Steve says to me, "Brad, did you know that shooting pornography in China carries the death penalty, and bringing that film through immigration was extremely risky?" Was it true? No idea, but why would he say it? Anyway, I'll never forget those words. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Over the years, the 38 years that I write about here, I've forgotten plenty, but there are certain statements and occurrences that are etched into my brain, and this is one of them. Anyway, he took out his trusty loupe and looked at the work and right away bought it, and in fact was totally delighted to have the opportunity to buy those slides. I didn't quite understand then why he would be so excited about those slides and was so quick to purchase them, but I would find out later. A couple of days later, after we got back from China, just like that, I decided to move to Thailand. I had visited Thailand 3 or 4 times by now, and I loved it. And I had never had so much great sex in my life and had been contemplating the move for a while. So I went to my agency and told them the news and asked them for prepay on the job, as I would be leaving in the next couple of days. Normally, it took a couple of weeks after a job to get paid by the agency, but you had the option to get paid right away if you were willing to give them an extra 10% commission. And so they paid me for the China job, and I was good to go, and so I went. I love you, Hong Kong, and you will forever be a part of me. End of chapter.